guys, and welcome to this week's episode from Taff Rocks. This week is going to be a nice simple one, a winter tree, because I'd go as far as to say that if it's not quite here yet for some of you, it's definitely on its way. But of course, you guys know that my first task is to paint this white. Now this is going to need a few coats simply because there is a portion of this that I need 100% white without being able to see through to the rest of the rock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a heat gun to dry it off in between each layers. And before I go and grab the heat gun, what I would like to say is a massive thank you to Mr. Jones for gifting this to us. We appreciate it lots. We've used it already in workshops and it's gone down a storm. So thank you, Mr. Jones. We appreciate this so very, very much. Now I'm not so worried about the edges this time, so I'm just going to start putting some extra layers on the top. So the good thing about using this heat gun is it obviously heats up the rock, which means as I'm putting additional coats on, very thin coats, they're drying out anyway. So I think that is enough for what I need for now. I'm going to let this completely dry by itself, and then we'll come back and we'll do the interesting stuff. Now I've got a bit of low adhesive painter's tape here, which I'm going to mask an area off with. I'm just trying to work out which is the best way to do this. I think I'll try this way, because there's a big horrible bit here. I'm going to try and miss that and put this over here. Now I don't know how well this is going to work, because you know as well as I do that rocks are not smooth, so of course this isn't going on so perfect. But hey, if something happens to it when I get to the end, then we'll just use some white paint. Now I've got a couple of different colours here. I've got 2 different shades of purple, 2 different shades of blue, and pink. The background is going to be graded, so let's start with the pink. Now you might think, oh my gosh, this is a bit bright, or you might not be able to see it at all. Now on either side I'm going to use a bit of this pale blue. Now with the darker blue. Now the issue I have here is this. This is not working for me, and there's not much I can do about it, I don't think. Let's try. Perfection is not the key here, because what I'm going to do is, can you see some little bits here that the paint hasn't got in? I hope so, because what I'm going to do with those is I'm going to make those into snow. Trouble with doing this method for me is I always feel like I want to do more. But as I've said to you before, you just need to know when to stop. Now that everything is dry and I've taken my piece of tape off, it's time to do the tree. So I'm going to put a little bit of black on my makeshift palette. And I'm going to start with the equivalent of a size 1 paintbrush and start my tree. Much like the autumn tree that we did a few weeks ago. And now to do the branches, I'm going to use a size, I think this is 00, so I'm going to bring them up over the moon Now the good thing about using paintbrushes here is, can you see the lines are not straight, in fact they're quite gnarly, which is exactly how tree branches are, because they're never perfect. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to start putting some snow on here. Got my white paint. I'm going to use a tiny little end of a ball dotting tool. You guys can use the end of a skewer, a toothpick, or a cocktail stick. Anything that you've got with a sharp point, including a well sharpened pencil. And on the branches that I know can hold snow, which would be the ones with flat bits on the top, I'm going to put some white on there. Doesn't have to be perfect because snow never lands perfect. I'm also adding, you know, in the little bits where the branches would go like this, I'm adding a collection of snow in there. And what I'm going to do now is down the bottom here, I'm going to use one of these sponge dabbers, only because once I dab with these they're going to look like giant snowballs. So even though that's not perfect, it still looks like snow. And again, you can carry on, you can do as much or as little as you like, but it just looks like you've had a nice flurry of snow. Now what I'm going to do is, with my ball tool, on the other side I've got a bigger dot, so you can find something else. You can use the end of a Q-tip. In fact, I might have a go at that now. Let's get some big blobs of snow on here. Random. And if you've used dots in your painting process before, you'll know that the more you dot with one blob of paint on whichever tool you're using, that they're going to get smaller. There you have it. Now that it's complete, all you have to do is wait for it to dry. If you have any acrylic glitter varnish, you can give it a wash over with that. That would look great. If you don't have any, there's nothing wrong with this as it is. If you want to add a few more dots, add a few more dots. If not, leave it. I actually like it as it is right here. So let's move this out of the way. And even though this is not dry, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. A nice winter tree, which if you want to add the glitter, make it a bit more festive. If you don't want to, it's perfectly fine as it is. If you use this tutorial to paint yourself a fabulous little tree, why not share a picture of it over on our Facebook group? Until then, I'm going to see you next week with something quite cheerful and very Christmassy. We release new tutorial videos every Monday morning. If you'd like to help us out, you can like this video, share it, subscribe or sponsor us using any of the supporter links in the description below. Until I see you next week, keep on rocking. Ciao for now.
Okay people, goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you love it a lot.